Thank you all for showing up. I really appreciate it. We have a very special show for you today. We're breaking tradition, playing traditionally medieval Renaissance Baroque music because we're celebrating Jubilee. And primarily the history of African American music. And in researching music for this performance, we discovered beautiful music, very rarely performed by African American composers. We regret that the School of Rock performers will not be here today because they're playing for graduation. On top of that, we'll be presenting compositions by award-winning African American composer Malika Fitzhugh, Emily O'Brien, an amazing chord player from Boston, will play 3 of her pieces. She will be accompanied by Montclair's Apex String Ensemble. So again, this is a very different program than we are accustomed to giving, and we are very glad to have you all here. Thank you very much for showing up. I'd like to introduce to you the Union Baptist Church, Reverend Branson. How do you do?
Thank you, Mr. Brownstein, and it is a pleasure to be here. Aren't you excited to be here on a beautiful day in New Jersey in a beautiful venue like the Montclair Art Museum? And it is a pleasure and a privilege to celebrate Jubilee, which is about to be an afternoon that I think we will all cherish and enjoy as we celebrate the rich and vibrant history of African American music here in America, beginning as early as the slavery period of antebellum South, coming all the way up to current through a blend of different musical styles and interpretations. So I hope you are excited. We are going to begin with acknowledging that most people who came to America during the transatlantic slave trade were very, very musical and torn and very involved in music and dance traditions of West Africa. The singing was often highly intense, with musical falsetto, shouts, and groans. There was often a call and response between the congregational leader and those who were singing. Refrains were often repeated and sung in choruses. Percussive sounds were added with hand claps and foot stomps, as we are all so familiar with. And I'd like to introduce, as our first performer this afternoon, the Montclair State University's African Dance and Drum Ensemble under the direction of Mr. Robert Levin. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Everybody. How are you? Good. As was said, there is a lot of call and response in West African music, and West African music is designed for large groups of people to all join, to tighten the bonds that we all already share by being alive. How do we do that? How do people tighten the bonds of their relationships? They listen to each other. So that's why there's call and response. There's call and response in the singing, there's call and response in the drumming, and between drummers and dancers. So our group, we have one dancer who's going to lead us, Miss Leah Barnes. Let's hear it. Very special guest dancers, very well known to yourselves. You guys are going to be the rest of our dancers, because West African music is not designed for an audience, it's designed for a community. Okay, so we are all going to be one. We're going to lay down the beat, and we're going to ask Ms. Barnes to show you the steps. We're going to play 2 pieces. We're going to start with a recreational dance of the Ewe people who live in southeastern Ghana, in Togo, and Benin. And this piece is called Gamu. Can you say Gamu? Gamu. There's 2 things that you have to know to dance Gamu with us, and we're inviting all of you to come. We're going to dance in a circle over here, and then come back behind the drummers. We're going to make the drummers will be right in the middle. You can dance right around us, which will be wonderful. You will take 2 steps with each foot. Right, right, left, left. Right, right, left, left. So that's the basic move. And then you'll hear calls from the drums to tell you to get up, to tell you to go down, to tell you to jump up, and different moves. If you watch Aaliyah, you'll know what to do, all right? So we're going to start by having you clap along with us like this. capital of Ghana. Does anybody know the capital of Ghana? Accra. Who said Accra? It's popular music, and it's actually in the 70s, it was making its way to New York, and new moves were added in New York, and it went back to Ghana. There's been a lot of back and forth. So this piece, I'm going to ask you to clap, and we'll start off like this. 2 claps and 2 waves. Watch. Wave, wave. Wave, wave. minutes. It takes 5 minutes just for people to warm up. They play for hours and hours, and then you make friends with everyone. So we're going to let the rest of the musicians continue the good vibes and be friendly with them. Let's enjoy the rest of the concert. Thank you for participating.
Thank you once again, Mr. Levin of Montclair State University's African Dance and Drum Ensemble. What a way to start us off. That was fantastic. I bet you didn't think you were going to have this much fun when you came here, but yeah, we're going to have a great time today. In early America, most people couldn't read music. And so the colonial settlers brought with them from England a system of singing called lining out, in which the leader or congregation would sing one of the tunes they were familiar with, one line at a time. Isaac Watts compiled a book of these tunes based on songs, which he brought to America. These hymns were introduced to the slave population, who embraced them. They saw them as similar to the call and response songs that they were familiar with back home in Africa, and they provided a sufficient European mask behind which they could still have their African expressiveness to the rhythms. The practice of lining out for songs still continues to resonate in African American music, both in the secular as well as the sacred music traditions. We are very pleased to have with us this afternoon Mr. Roosevelt Credit, who sings with the Metropolitan Opera, and his gospel singers who have accompanied him. And they will be singing for us a lining out hymn in the way that it may have been done at the time of Isaac Watts. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to Montclair Baptist, everybody, or I will distinctions we say. I'm Brother Craig. Right here is Brother Thompson. Yes, sir. And here we have next with Sister Jennings. And on the end we have Sister, I always call you E, Sister E, Engel. I know her by E. Sister Engel, that's the word. Yes, on here. Let's say hi to our sister. So back in the day, there was not beautiful churches and stuff, but we would gather in huts, we'd gather in the fields, wherever it took place, but we would always acknowledge our pastor, who's sitting back in the corner today, and all giving honor to God. And this is lining out what a friend we have in Jesus. So as we did in my church in Oakland, California, will you please stand and turn to page number 7, we stay with you. And then I would line it out, and then the congregation would start humming. Quite often, like in the old days, when you heard it on the ships, they used the pentatonic scale, we call it today. They gave it a name. There are just 5 notes in that scale. You can pick any of those 5 notes, and there's never a bad note in the bunch. But it's about the collectiveness of singing together. It's not about how perfect you sing or the pitches you sing. It's about lifting the spirit together. And so please do sing along. This is how we did it when we started in our prayer meetings. What a friend we had in Jesus, our sins and griefs we bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Amen. What a friend we have.
is right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. William Billings was a tanner from Massachusetts with minimal music education, but he established the first singing school and the first church choir in colonial America. He wanted his choir to be able to read music, and so he used a system of teaching music that used shapes for notes. For example, a square was la, a diamond was mi, and an egg was sol. The system caught on and spread across the South. The harmonies are different from what you may be used to or accustomed to with an open fifth or a fourth, but what you're going to hear is solfege first, and then the words with the recorders playing along them. selections were Captain Kidd and Nashville. Spirituals evolved from the lining out hymns. The open intervals often would precede the song. In moaning or shout styles, the open harmonic sound was heard throughout the South. Swing Low, Sweet Chariot is a great example of a call and response. One interpretation of this famous hymn is the Swing Low, is the call for abolitionists to visit the southern United States where the slaves were being held. The Fisk Jubilee singers brought the song to the attention of many audiences. Mr. Roosevelt Credit will sing the call, and we invite you as our audience to join in the response.
And our featured soloist is Sister Denise.
Outstanding, outstanding. Are you having a great time so far? At this time, it's my privilege. I'd like to invite Mr. Bernard Schoenfeld, who is a board member for the Montclair Early Music, if he would come with some remarks and some thanks.
Thank you. Speaking on behalf of the entire board and membership of Montclair Early Music, we're delighted that you're here today to join us in this celebration. I'd like to thank Montclair Art Museum for hosting this event. Art and music go together. Thanks again to Reverend Jesse Branson Jr. for serving as host of this program. This concert would not be possible without the support of our wonderful sponsors. Provident Bank, and if you could stand as the name is called. Provident Bank, Raymond James Financial, Michael Schwartzberg, Havens Savings Bank, the School of Rock, Century 21, Montclair Y, Attorney William Ewing. Thanks to TV 34 for video recording this program. I want to thank all our volunteers also, and please stand if you're here. I'd also like to thank all the individuals who made donations, without whom this program would not be possible. We're an all-volunteer organization and depend upon your support. Please donate if you are able. And now, back to our program.
Langston Hughes is considered by many to be the unofficial poet laureate of Harlem. He derived great inspiration from everyday scenes and the jazz and blues that he heard in Harlem nightclubs. One of his most notable works was written in 1922 and first published in the Crisis magazine. It's a piece entitled Mother to Son, and it reads as follows. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time I spent a-climbing on it, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back, and don't you sit down on the steps, because you finds it kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I still going, honey. I still climbing, and life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Thank you. William Grant Still, one of America's great African-American composers of the 20th century, wrote some beautiful arrangements of blues songs. Montclair Early Music's ensemble will perform I Feel Like My Time Ain't Long and The Memphis Man, followed by Lucky Old Son by Beasley Smith, another wonderful African-American composer. Miss Elsa Larson will solo.
Oh
So from the blues, we go to ragtime. Julia Nightingale composed several ragtime pieces in her 20s. Julia began supporting herself after a divorce by playing the piano in movie theaters and local gymnasiums. She did well enough for herself that she was actually one of the first women in her community to buy herself her own car and her own home. Her songs continue to be played around the world, and we will now hear the Who's Your Rag while Nisreen Al-Muzuni and Jim Dyer dance the Peabody. Celebration of African American composers, and Julia Nightingale was one of them. And it's amazing that we get from the Peabody to the Cupid Shuffle, but if you give it enough time, we'll get there. But yeah, so Scott Joplin is a composer that we are all familiar with. And Montclair Early Music Guitar Trio will play one of his lesser-known pieces entitled The Easy Winners. many outstanding African American composers whose works are lesser well known and rarely performed. We have the honor of playing a few of their pieces this afternoon and would encourage you to listen and do some more research on your own, enjoying them through whatever streaming service or music provider you can access. Also on our list this afternoon is Nathaniel Dent, a black composer born in Canada. He was an organist, a pianist, choral director, and a music professor. Dent performed at Carnegie Hall and the Boston Symphony Hall as a pianist and choir director. We will now hear a selection entitled Juba from his Bottoms Suite, originally for piano, which we have arranged for recorder and guitar. Thank you. About the same time as Chopin was composing his waltzes and mazurkas in Europe, African-American composer Basil St. Jacques composed his Grand Pope de Chasseur in New Orleans. He composed it at age 16 while he was still a slave. We have this arranged for you for your enjoyment with recorders and guitar. Is Miss Heather Carter here? Yes, I would like to invite Miss Heather Carter, who is going to help us understand and talk to us a little bit briefly about the wonderful art exhibit that she has curated for this afternoon. And at the conclusion of her remarks, we are going to have a brief 10-minute intermission. Thank you.
Heather Carter, and this is my daughter, Mackenzie, and she wouldn't miss an opportunity to come up on the stage, and that I have to always encourage her to do that. So my dad is an artist. I'm an artist kid. His name is Robert Carter. Maybe some of you are familiar with him and some of the people, the artists that he hung out with in Louisville, Kentucky, back in the 50s and 60s, Sam Gilliam and Bob Thompson, Kenneth Young, Ed Hamilton, and these are noteworthy artists. A few of them are no longer living. Their art, of course, lives on. And that was known as the Louisville Renaissance, and the National Gallery of Art is now studying those artists, and more to come. I'm also known as the art matchmaker. I'm an art advisor. I have a gallery, a new gallery in Montclair on Park Street, so please come and visit. And in the back, I put together a display of art. I specialize in art by artists of color. That's my passion. I do source art from all over the world. So you'll see a few photographs from Richard Koch, who's in the audience in West Orange. And then another artist who I work with is from Zimbabwe, who's not with us today, but her art is in the back as well. There's a serograph by Faith Ringgold, also by Elizabeth Catlett. So we have a nice range of art, and proceeds will happily be donated to Montclair Early Music, to the children's program, so please support and come visit me down the street. Thanks so much.
We would invite you at this time to visit the gallery. Feel free to mingle. We will resume the remainder of the program at 20 minutes after the hour. Thank you so much. Moving now to the present time, we will feature a work by contemporary African composer Malika Fitzhugh. African American? Yes. Okay. Miss Fitzhugh holds a degree in music theory and composition from Harvard, a master's in music from Longley School, Bard College, and has won numerous awards. Her music is performed internationally. She enjoys writing for the Recorder, and we are pleased to have with us this afternoon Miss Emily O'Brien, a recorder virtuoso from Boston, who is here to play some of Fitzhugh's compositions, and she will be joined by Montclair's Apex Strings Ensemble. Please give them a hand. Thank you so much. The quality of the music that we have heard this afternoon has been absolutely world class. Yes, can we give it a round of applause? And so, the Lindy Hop is a dance that was created by African American community in Harlem in the late 20s. It was born from the blending of African rhythm and movements with the European structured dance. The Lindy Hop has enjoyed a revival since the mid-1980s, even though I think I might have missed it as 80s baby. But since then, swing legend Frankie Musclehead Manning was since rediscovered, and now the Lindy Hop and other swing dances and other variations are part of a worldwide trend to get us back to the dance floor. A group from Jazz House Kids will perform all blues, while Miss Nisreen and Jim will demonstrate for us the Lindy Hop. Please give them a round of applause as they come to the stage. So the musical traditions from Africa, jazz, blues, and gospel music have all grown from African roots, and all of these styles have influenced the rock and roll and hip hop of today's culture. It was Harriet Tubman who said every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars and to change the world. The future of our world is with our young people, and if this recent Jazz House ensemble was any indication, our blues is certainly in good hands. And so we're going to conclude today's program with performances by some of our talented young people from the Montclair Early Music Children's Program, if they would come at this time. That concludes the formal portion of this afternoon's program. On behalf of the Montclair Early Music, we'd like to thank everybody for your attendance, for all of our sponsors, and for all of you taking the opportunity, for all of our fantastic musicians, both near and far. On behalf of myself, Jesse Branson Jr., we are delighted to have you here this afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see you next year as we continue our celebration of Jubilee.